Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Joe and today I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout Deputy Editor Tom Freeman, who will be revealing his Game Week 9 team. And both of us will wonder, will we ever play our bench boost before Christmas? Welcome, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Joe. Yeah, decent game week on a wild card, despite an awful performance by West Ham last night. But it's pretty positive overall. But so yeah, good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good game week. I went into the top million. And yeah, I didn't bench boost, which was handy because my bench only had 5 points. And
Yeah.
I went to an FPL meets, actual real life football FPL managers. And we saw a game, an actual real game as well. Taunton, who lost
Ah,
in the
so
Western.
who?
They lost to Sholing, who are
Oh,
a
okay.
Southampton team, who presumably are full of lots of Southampton
Okay.
players of the past, maybe, but I don't know them that well enough. But yeah, it was a good game. It was a good day out.
Good.
Okay, before we move on, just a reminder, do press that like button, does help us out, and do remember to subscribe, keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts, and do check out fantasyfootballscout.co.uk for to have a look at the latest membership offers to get access to all the latest tools and gadgets to help you climb up your mini leagues. Okay, yeah, you said you had a good game week, you wildcarded.
Yeah.
Good game week's an understatement, 88 points. And some really good. And but this was slightly different to the team you showed us last week in that you
Yeah.
were quite heavy on Wolves players for a bench
Yeah.
boost,
Yeah.
and then that you just threw that out the window. But you ended up getting some better players as well. So yeah, do you want
Yeah.
to take us through your team and yeah, your thoughts on the wild card, which with 88 points, I mean, and was it 2 million, 1 million rank rise? Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean I was 8.2 million about 3 weeks ago, and we've gone up to three now, so we're
Yeah,
moving in the right
yeah,
direction.
yeah.
Just quickly, the reason why I took out the Wolves players was as I kind of built the wild card with a game week 10 bench boost in mind rather than game week 9. So that's why I took out the two Wolves players, and the two
Okay.
Sunderland players came in, and it worked out really well this week. So I went with Dubravka in goal. He got the clean sheet against Leeds and 9 points. Gabriel got the assist and the clean sheet at Fulham and got
Yep.
12. Diouf just got one benched. Really surprised by that, and West Ham were just absolutely terrible. So I'm not sure if he's a problem yet, but he could be potentially. And then Mukwele, of course, who got that 17 pointer, which was the key to having a really good week, I
Yeah.
think. Xhaka got 5. He came in for Enzo, who didn't play. Semenyo got 4. Saka got 7. And Eza got 3. Haaland captain 26. João Pedro 2. Bowen 2. And then on the bench, I had Pope, Enzo, Richards, and Anderson, who picked up
Okay.
that hamstring injury.
So yeah, a key difference to your sort of pre-wildcard team is that had the Villa players, so they've gone.
Yeah.
You've now got three Arsenal players in. You've got some sort of steady Eddie players as well, some reliable point scorers. Xhaka, for example, yeah, he could be quite reliable. He could be for DEFCON as well.
Well, that's what I mean. I was looking at Arias in the draft that I put up last week, but I just thought with Xhaka, I just think he's going to tick along. I don't think he's going to get crazy high scores, but I just think because he's so good for DEFCON,
Yeah,
Sunderland are good at home. So when you play him, you've got a chance of getting that clean sheet point, and that's exactly what happened with that. So yeah, I think he'd be good. Okay, he's good for minutes, of course, as
yeah,
well. Whereas with Arias, you never quite know if he's definitely going to start or not. So yeah, I was happy with that one. The only change and the thing I look back on and regret maybe in the draft last week, I had Voltemade in instead of João Pedro,
right.
and I switched. So obviously, I've lost what 6 points on that decision, I think.
Yeah,
And obviously, João Pedro really struggling at the moment. He's suspended for Europe, so I think I'll keep the faith for Sunderland. But I think everybody who owns João Pedro is probably looking at game week 10 and potentially Mateta and
yeah,
that kind of switch then. So we'll give him one more week. Really disappointed by West Ham. I think I've said it a couple of times, but sat down. It could have been a really great and amazing game week, like one of the best I've had,
oh yeah,
because I had two West Ham players ready to go last night, and I thought if they could get to maybe 10 points or 12 points or
yeah,
something,
100
I could
points.
I could, this would be an incredible wild card, and that didn't quite happen. So it ended on a bit of a sour note, but I think when I look back, I can't be too
No,
disappointed with 88 at
certainly.
all. So
Certainly not. So yeah, big healthy green arrows there, and yeah, the issue with Pedro. I mean, for me, I've got Jokeres
yeah,
and Haaland. I've got a 3-5-2 set up. So Jokeres and Haaland there. Haaland's obviously going nowhere. Jokeres is the one. Similarly with Pedro, I don't actually have a problem with Jokeres. I saw the game, and he
so
works well for the Arsenal side. He
yeah,
gets in the way.
yeah,
He's up front. He's doing the right things. He's having some shots, but he's not. The team's not geared up for him getting goals, whereas it is with Haaland. So,
yeah.
and Pedro, similar problem there. He's a really good number 10. And when I was watching the game, I could see Cucurella, who else? Neto. There was a few others. And when, as a Brighton fan, they were all in the Pedro position, where Pedro would win the penalty or he would just dash in and score. And so Pedro was in the position of where Welbeck was, or where a striker should be, and at Chelsea. And so that's why he's just not that player. And similarly with Jokeres, the player that scored over 50 goals last season, Arsenal aren't really using him as the 50-goal man. They're using him
No,
as sort of a get in
it
the
fit.
way, make some space for Trossard, that kind of
It
thing.
feels like he benefits the wingers a lot
Yeah,
because he's disrupting the back line, isn't he? He's
yeah,
keeping the centre backs occupied,
yeah.
and that's creating a bit of space. And that Saka 7-pointer came out of nowhere at the
Yeah,
weekend because he got the DEFCON, and then he was suddenly in the
yeah.
bonus as well.
So,
So yeah, I think obviously now if it was, it's easy to say in hindsight. I own Gyökeres as well earlier this season, but Saka feels like the
yeah,
far
he's the player.
superior player just because he's got so many more routes to points.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, I think it's an easy decision to make if you don't own Saka, but you've got Jokeres. Find a way with 2 free transfers
Yeah.
to move them.
It wouldn't surprise me though, after listening to Arteta after the game, and he said he was begging for Gyökeres to score. He's probably going to take the next penalty. So if
I,
that does arise in the Premier League, that's
yeah,
a plus for
I'm fairly
owners.
certain. I mean, I've got both Saka and Jokeres,
Okay.
but Jokeres I will keep this game week. But I may actually move for his 2 Burnley and Sunderland away ones
For Mateta.
for Mateta, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
because it was something we're talking about on FPL General Show, I still like strikers that score, midfielders that assist, defenders that keep clean sheets. All the bells
The
and whistles,
basics. Yeah.
DEFCONs and bonus, all of these things have changed. But since I started 17 years ago, that has never changed.
Yeah,
And if
yeah.
I've got a striker and he's not scoring, then he has to go. If I'm getting a
Yeah.
midfielder and he's not creating anything, he's got to go. And a defender
I
that's
mean,
not keeping
it's-
clean sheets, got to go.
It's 4 matches for Pedro and Gyökeres without a goal,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It's
So
gotta
we've
go.
been patient.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of looking back and I'm thinking Voltemada would have been a really nice
yeah.
pick. And so I think it was just the fact that Pedro was rested over that international break. We thought that Enzo might not play. So we thought penalties. But yeah, again, it feels like others are benefiting him from him being in the team at Chelsea more than him playing as a number 9 himself. So
It's worth saying, though, that when Mark Gui came on, he was better. But it's also probably worth saying that Mark Gui probably won't start the next game. And but the lap is back in training at very early stages. So he's not going to come back any week soon. But it will be at some point. He's starting that stage to coming back, which will help.
It was the West Ham game, wasn't it? That they played together and Chelsea scored 5 goals and Pedro got 3 attacking returns in that game. I think Mark Gay or Tyreek George, one of them's got to play in Europe because Pedro's banned again, isn't he? What we kind of want is we want one of those guys to really lay down a marker and play really well, so that then maybe shifts Pedro into the 10 role at the weekend. Enzo, it sounds like he's going to be fit as well. But yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I'd much prefer him in that 10 role rather than leading the line himself.
But it's also the thing is he's the next game Sunderland, Chelsea have got a great run of fixtures, so they could do well in all of them as they did against Nottingham Forest. But Pedro could get a brace this weekend from a number 9 position. It's not to say that it's not going to happen.
No, of course.
But I think overall, the norm is Pedro is not as good as a number 9. That's just the norm.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't surprise me because Sunderland have been good defensively this year. It wouldn't surprise me if he struggles at the weekend and then he goes to Tottenham the week after and has a better game there where there's a bit more space for him to work. It's just it just kind of feels like with him and Gyökeres, the moment that you take them out, they start performing.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
But,
I'm probably going to keep
you
Pedro.
obviously got him in, obviously because it was a guaranteed starter game week 8 and 9, and also the fixtures as well. But I've seen a lot of people saying they've kept him or they've got him in because of the ownership, and I never think ownership is should be the key. It's an interesting
I haven't
stat.
owned him all season.
No,
This was the first game week that I've
no, you
owned him
didn't even know.
actually.
Yeah,
And
but
so my rank doesn't suggest that was a great play, but it worked recently. It was just
no,
those early weeks which I
yeah,
suffered
definitely, yeah. So I think
because I had Watkins.
so. I think the message there really is don't look at ownership, look at the player, you know, and see where you're going with that. Because I think that's the way of doing it. Well, let's just have a look and see how this team's set up for game week 9. So obviously you're not going to be bench boosting this week. So Xhaka, Mukiele are on the bench, as is Richards. Dubravka's probably your only good bench player there. But then you've got an injured Anderson, who's probably not going to make it. You've got Diouf, who, as it transpired, is not nailed on.
No,
and
I think he will start.
I think he'll start this
I do
one.
agree. Yeah, long term.
But it's not. But it's against
Potential
Leeds,
problem.
so it's okay. So yeah, do you want to just run through your team and just what you're thinking really? Because you've got an Anderson problem, so someone on that bench has got to come in really for Anderson, or we'll look at alternatives for you for Anderson.
Yeah. So the team, I've got Pope in goal at home to Fulham. I've got a back three of Gabriel at home to Palace, Diouf away at Leeds, and a flagged Anderson away at Newcastle. In midfield, I've got Enzo at home to Sunderland, hoping he's fit. Semenyo at home against Forest, Saka at home against Palace, and Eza as well against Palace. Haaland away at my team Villa, Pedro at home against Sunderland, Bowen away against Leeds, and then on the bench, like you just said, Dubravka, Xhaka, Mukiele, and Richards. The Anderson injury is a pain, if I'm being honest. It was never the ideal fixture away against Newcastle, and I was fully aware of that when I wildcarded it. This week might be a bit tricky, but I was kind of banking on him going to St James's Park, probably getting DEFCONs, and maybe coming out with 3 or 4 points. And because I want Anderson long term, I was kind of okay with that. I really don't want to sell him because Fulham's fixtures are good coming up. They play Wolves the week after this week, and there's like a nice run. I like owning him because of that DEFCON potential. Now, if I did sell him and I wanted to bench boost in game week 10, which was the plan, because Sunderland play Everton at home that game week, and you can see I've got Xhaka and Mukiele there. If I were to sell him, I would need somebody to come in who could play in game week 9 and 10. So, and that's a bit of a problem when you look at the defenders who are available. I'd only have 4.7 million. I've only got 0.2 million in the bank. The obvious play would be to bring in a Bournemouth defender because I don't have any, they're at home against Forest, who will have a new manager in place, but it's a good fixture. I could get to Diakate, for instance. I could get to Truffert. I can't quite go up to Senesi, but I'm okay with that. But the problem is if I want to bench boost in game week 10, Bournemouth go to Man City.
Yeah, so
don't want to do that.
No, and also I think, I just think. I mean, I've got Senesi, and I benched him this week, and there's going to be quite a few. Well, you've mentioned game week 10. There's quite a few where I'm going to be benching him.
Yeah, play Villa the week after that. You're probably not going to want to play him in that.
It's a good week. I mean, I'll be doing a free hit video later this week. There'll be Bournemouth defenders maybe on that, as well as a defender definitely, but going forward I probably wouldn't get one.
So that's the kind of predicament that I'm in with it. If I decided though to say I'm not going to bench boost in game week 10, I'm going to make that decision now, I'm going to bench boost further down the line, then a Bournemouth defender could potentially come in because I can just bench them when they go to City and it's fine. I think at the moment I'm probably just going to leave everything just as it is and not do anything. If I think I'd prefer Mukiele to come in rather than Richards. Do you think I've got that bench order right, Joe?
I think right. I think Richards will get DEFCON, but I can't see a clean sheet for either of these two here.
No.
I just feel that Arsenal are a better team, basically.
Would a Chelsea 1-0, and then Mukwele could
Defcon.
still come out with 4 points,
Yeah.
which would be brilliant. I'd take that.
But I don't think it matters too much. I think you're looking at two very similar players. They're two similar players in FPL terms.
Absolutely.
You're aiming for about 4 points if you can.
That would be a result. Yeah.
And you may get somewhere near that. I think the off chance of a clean sheet might come with Mukwele, but it's away for him and Sunderland in general. So I mean, I've got Aldereti's my third on my bench. Yeah. So that says something.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of a wild card, I didn't really want to be having these kind of issues, I suppose. But the injury I left myself thin this week with defenders because I wanted Richards long term. I wanted Mukwele for this game week 10 bench boost. So it's just the way it's gone. I think Diouf will come in. So I think it's just one of those things. I'm going to have to.
It's
roll
one
with it.
player. The rest of the side's excellent. So you just that one player. And also with Enzo, that's fine as well, because if he doesn't make it, you got Xhaka to come in, and we already know what he does. He got you the same thing last week. Got you 5 points for the bench. Absolutely great first sub. Okay, let's have a look at some cheap defenders. Yeah. So I've limited this to 4.7. I actually couldn't find anyone for you above 4.5.
Okay.
So luckily I could stop there. And what I did is I looked at minutes per expected goal involvement non-penalty, and so if they had good ones of that, they were in. Obviously, there's some that aren't that. And there's also some others if they've got strong defensive contributions. So I'm looking at not just clean sheet potential, but just defensive contributions here. And I've also included a couple that you've already got to benchmark them. You happen to have the two best ones. You've got Chris Richards and Mukwele.
I'm happy to see Van Heck third on that list, though, because he was the one player, and I'll get your opinion on this, Joe. He was the one player that I could bring in this week. He goes to Man United, probably concede, but Defcon potential there. Then he plays Leeds at home, so that would fit in with that bench boost strategy.
Yeah, definitely. So game week 10, just to check, they play Leeds at home, and to be honest, all their fixtures are good. You could play him anytime. But just for the benefit of those who don't have Chris Richards or Mukwele in here, they're the top ones in that. Chris Richards is getting a DEFCON every match. This is from the last 4 game weeks. That's every match for the last 4 game weeks. He's also minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, every 439 minutes, which isn't bad for a defender. And he's already created 2 chances. He's more the long throw guy, so he's not going to be on the end of anything, but he could get you an assist. At 4.5, that's pretty good, especially with clean sheet potential going forward. Mukwele as well, he's 4 million. Now, Aldereti is also in there as well. They're both okay for DEFCON. It's 1.5 on average to start over the last 4 game weeks for Mukwele. Aldereti, every 1. We just got 1 DEFCON on average, so they're still in the mix there. Both of them have a goal as well, and both of them have fairly reasonable minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, with some chances created and shots, 3 shots each. So they're both really good. Mukwele obviously will be more popular because he's slightly cheaper and he's just come off the back of 17 points. But your original question about Van Heck, so Van Heck is the next one here. It's your next available good one. His defensive contributions per start is 1.5 every match for the last 4 game weeks, and that wasn't the case at the beginning of the season. So he's really stepped up there. He's also got a goal. His minutes per expected goal involvement non-penalty is poor though, every 1,565 minutes, but he does have a couple of shots in him. Going back to my original point, I like strikers that score, midfielders that create, and I like defenders that keep clean sheets. Van Heck does not keep clean sheets.
No, I read a stat earlier. Brighton have got 1 clean sheet in their last 20 matches going back to last season.
Which is, to be honest, if they can keep beating the likes of Newcastle and City and Chelsea,
who cares?
It's the problem is when they're playing against Sunderland and Leeds and Wolves and all these sorts of teams, and they're conceding and they might not win. And in fact, they have drawn against Wolves and Fulham, for example, this season already. Games they perhaps could have won. But yeah, I like Van Heck a lot. I'd be very tempted to get him in. It's possibly not the best week with Manchester United, but from game week 10. But I personally would look elsewhere, even as a Brighton fan, because I just think they score, they concede. So for me, Minter's the only one I would consider.
Yeah, and I think the only imagine the scenario where I switch Anderson to Van Heck, and then Anderson is okay for
Yeah.
game week 10. Anderson would have played Wolves at home, which
Yeah.
is obviously, I think I trust, Fulham didn't keep many clean sheets last year. I trust them slightly more defensively than Brighton,
Yeah.
if I'm being
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
So I think that unless Silva comes out and says Anderson is ruled out for a month and he's totally not an option in game week 10, I think I'm more tempted to save. But I think because like I said, the problem is you need somebody for game week 9 and 10 if I'm going to bring somebody in. And Van Heck probably is the best of the bunch.
Yeah.
I think.
So a few more names here. Stev is 4 million. His defensive contribution is pretty strong, 1.5 every match last 4 game weeks. He's had 3 shots already and created a couple of chances. Yeah, he's not a bad option as well. It's a good week for Dubravka, but it just depends when you want to double up. And for bench boosters, though, it's not a bad option. Alderete is next. We mentioned him as well. Very strong option. Now, here's something I want to ask you about after your Wolves research last week that you abandoned. We've got Santiago Bueno, Hugo Bueno in this list, both 4.4. We've also got Krejci, who was in your list, who was your one of your drafts last week. He's 4.5. Krejci's got a goal. Bueno Santiago's got a goal. Hugo Bueno has not got a goal, but Hugo Bueno is the chance creation guy. He's got 6 chances created, and Santiago, are they brothers or something? Presumably, or is it just like
not that I'm aware of?
just
No,
like a common name?
No, I don't. I think one's South American and the other one isn't. I might have got
No,
that
even
wrong.
from the same
Actually,
continent.
But I think, yeah, no, I could have got that wrong. I'm gonna have to look at that now because
Okay, that's
otherwise
fine.
I won't forget about it. But yeah, I mean,
These look pretty good actually for a bench boost because Wolves fixtures are they've got Burnley at home, game week 9, Fulham away,
yeah.
Chelsea, okay, that's poor, Crystal Palace, then Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest. There's plenty of bench boost opportunity for. I don't know anything about these players. I haven't even given Wolves a second thought,
Well,
but
because
now I am.
Yeah, I think just to confirm, one's from Spain and one's from Uruguay, so I did get that right.
Okay, good.
But back to the actual information, which is important. I had Krejci because you can see here he's got probably the most goal threat out of those 3 guys.
Yes, definitely.
He's actually created 3 chances as well because he can play in midfield as well. So he's a versatile player. Hugo Bueno's the fullback, obviously, like you can see there, getting crosses into the box. Chances created, key passes. Santiago Bueno, just your standard centre back, will get the occasional DEFCON points.
Okay.
My only worry with Wolves is that they've been playing so badly recently
Right.
that does Pereira mix it up and do something drastic. And I would need to speak to Wolves. If I was going to invest, I would probably be listening to, say, the Planet FPL correspondence kind of clash this week with the game against Burnley, because I'd want some insight into if he is going to switch that up, who is at most risk of losing their place. Because personally, I don't honestly know the answer to that one.
Especially when their defenders got the same blooming name.
Yeah, it's confusing. But part of me thinks that have Burnley got a better clean sheet potential than Wolves this week?
Now you're talking.
Because at least they're reasonable. I mean, look, they're bottom for XGC this year, so they're not. They do concede chances, but in this type of game, Scott Parker will probably get them set up to be quite reactive and tight. And if they get to the half-hour point and they haven't conceded, could this kind of drag out a little bit? Could it be really low scoring? I don't know. I thought Wolves were so poor against Sunderland at the weekend. They showed a little bit of fight after the break, but generally they just created nothing. I think they had really low XG. I don't think they created one big chance at the weekend. So part of me thinks that it wouldn't surprise me if Burnley won that 1-0. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh my God, be still my beating heart. I've got Dubravka, Lyle Foster and Jaden Anthony in my team.
Just because Wolves are so bad that I don't really have any trust in saying. I mean, Strand Larsen's playing with an injury. I mean, Pereira spoke about it at the weekend. Arias is still settling in. Well, let's see, Mike could do something. Yeah, I just think they're not in a great place at the moment, Wolves. So you give Burnley a little bit of a chance there.
Okay, a couple of Leeds players to consider as well. Goodmanson and Rodon. Goodmanson's 4 million, Rodon's 4.1. Rodon's obviously got a goal. He's got some slight XG. So in that he's created a chance. He's had 7 shots, so it could happen again. But he's not going to be a regular scorer. No. Goodmanson as well. He's got a bit better for DEFCON. 0.5 is his average points over the last 4. And
I think Rodon's been close to getting defensive. I don't think he's far off, is he?
Oh yeah. As an owner, don't worry, I've been monitoring.
He's been getting like 8, 9, hasn't it? So it feels like he's low down for this now. Yeah. But in a couple of weeks' time, that could easily be bumped up a little.
Oh my god, I had about 3 players on 9 this week.
Oh really?
Missed out. Yeah. No, actually Minter as well. I think he was on 11.
I was that desperate last night. I was even checking Bowen's DEFCONs just for something. And I think he ended up on 7, but so it's added a new element to the game.
So they're both options there as well. Also to mention, Kadioglu has been starting a lot. He's 4.4. He does have a couple of shots and a couple of chances created, so he's got a better chance of an attacking return there. But I personally wouldn't go there. Defender, he doesn't keep clean sheet. And the last one is Achimpong, Chelsea. 3.9. Now look at the team sheet midweek. If he's playing again, so he's already got a goal, he's got a couple of shots in him, so he's obviously hasn't been starting regularly, but he's definitely a tempter at 3.9. If he's not starting midweek, there's still a big risk though with the Chelsea team sheet.
That's it. They've got Toes in there. They've got Chalobah there, haven't they? There's a couple of other options. If he's playing, he's incredible value, isn't it? It's just that team sheet uncertainty. I'd need to look into it. Is he likely to come on if he is a sub? Maybe not. I don't know. But I might want to see a run of games from him before I commit to it.
My instinct is it's Chalobah and Tosin. And Tosin was not playing at that Forest game because he'd just come back from injury.
Yeah.
That's my instinct there, but you never know. And they've got Fofana in the mix as well.
I was going to say Fofana's just coming back from injury, isn't he?
It's too much. It's too much.
You've got Europe as well to contend with. On a separate note, I quite like Reece James as a punt this week because Gusto's suspended, but it's long term. It's riddled with risk, isn't it? Because
once again,
he could be rested at any game.
I'll be surprised if he's not in my free hit team. Because he's perfect for a free hit, absolutely perfect.
Definitely,
because you can do that then. Okay, well, thanks a lot for that. I've given you a bit of food for thought. Hopefully, for those watching, listening, looking for cheap defenders as well, whether you're bench boosting or not. A lot of people have already used them. It's going to be popular for bench boosts this week. I think wasn't there a poll on Fantasy Football Scout that this is shaping up to be the biggest week for bench boosts?
I think it was about 17% of the people who were polled basically said, we're bench boosting this week. And this week has been touted for a few weeks leading up to this, hasn't it, as a good time to do it. So
yeah, I mean, I must admit, I am tempted just looking at the fixtures. I just don't think I'm going to get a better week. And if I end up with 6 points, so be it. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way to play it, and probably if Anderson's fit, the way I'll approach it in game week 10.
So when we're back next week, you'll be hopefully in preparation for your game week 10 bench boost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But okay, thanks a lot for your time. We'll see you again next week. Take care, everyone.
Great.
See you soon.